Facilitator of the workshop is none other than Division B Director, Dr. Salim Hakeem, a person whom, when I listen to, I aspire to listen more and learn more. DTM Salim Hakeem, the virtual.
Thank you so very much, Mr. President, Toastmaster Ahmed, for this wonderful introduction. Dear fellow Toastmasters and a guest, welcome to this educational session. I'm so delighted to have you all today. When the Club VP Education reached out and said, Dr. Salim, can you deliver a educational session? I was puzzled for a minute and I said to myself, this is an advanced Toastmasters club. What would appeal them the most? Whatever I'm going to say, they already mastered it. So I've thought to share my own success stories of how to improve the body language. And the following information that I'm about to share are personal experiences, somewhat knowledge from mentors, reading from various books, and most importantly, trying it on myself. I give a very big, let's say, credit to what I've learned and practiced in the past. So the educational session today is how to improve your body language. Now, we all at one point know what body language is all about. Among the most common comment we get in our stereotype evaluations is stage movements. Is your hands shaking? But there is much more onto it. And I'm not going to give a lecture about your understanding your body language and how do you move your facial impressions and how do you sit and how. I think we have all passed this stage. I'm only going to give you tips to improve your body language. So stay tuned and get ready with me to know my success story.
Toastmaster Salim.
Yes.
I just want to check. Is it my internet? I'm not hearing what you're saying. Is it my internet that is broken or what? Is everybody, hear his voice clearly, or it's only me?
For me, the voice is clear.
So clear.
I can hear him clearly.
From you. Yep.
Okay, so I have a problem with my internet. Thank you.
The message is recorded. I will definitely share it with you, Miss CGD. Perfect. So moving on with the tips to improve your body language. I'm going to tell you some scenarios. I'm going to tell you how do you handle those scenarios and what can you do to improve those scenarios. Now, how many of you here in the audience, you can raise your virtual hands or switch on your videos and show me your hands. How many of us we have stepped somewhere in time in situations we felt nervous, insecure, and intimidated? If you have gone through this at one point of your life, please raise your hand virtually or open your cameras and show me your hands. Okay. I guess I was the only guy who went through this situation. Nevertheless, at any point of time, if you ever been in that situation, what can you do? I'll refer to the Harvard professor Amy Cuddy, who recommended strongly that you need 2 minutes of power posing. Yep. And what you mean by power posing is standing tall, feeling like you are a Superman, your chest out with your hands on your hips, looking into the sky. That is a mental reprogramming of yourself. That will dramatically increase your confidence in yourself. It may sound strange, and I'm telling you again, this is something you need to do before you appear in front of everyone, whether it's a Zoom or physical meeting. It surely sounds strange, but it works. It has a magic. Just make sure that when you do this, no one is watching you. So that's my first tip. You're nervous, know what to do before you appear in front of the people. Dialing up your second tip, dialing up your energy level. Now, most of us have attended very successful workshops, meeting, conferences, even a speech in a virtual or physical meetings. And after that, your confidence tells you, you know what? In most cases, I think I have done 9 out of 10 or 8 out of 10. But if we ask the audience, there might be one or few or majority who would rate somewhere around 3 or 4. Now, winning everyone's confidence and acceptance is not an easy job. But this is what you can do. You can't win everyone's heart, or you can't gain the confidence towards the end just because you want to do a quality check and then you reappear yourself again in a second attempt. Maybe that second attempt never comes to you. So what do? You jack up your energy. Yep. You jack up your energy by 20%, 30%, full of enthusiasm, confidence, your body language, your delivery, and everything. So if you increase your level of energy by 20%, knowing the fact that, you know what, I need to increase my energy, so I would be highly rated. Instead of 3 and 4, I could be rated at probably 5 or 6 or 7. May I ask the admin to please mute other participants? I would appreciate. So your second tip today, you want to be welcomed by your audience. You want to show that you are full of energy. Don't wait for the assessment towards the end of your meeting. Don't ask them about your rating. Enter the meeting from step 1 with a high level, jacked up energy. So your acceptance rate will dramatically increase as well. Now that's the second step. Can someone remind me what was the first tip? Anyone? Audio muted? Anyone?
Power pause.
Power pause, excellent. And what was the second tip, guys?
Jack up energy.
Jack up energy. Thank you, Toastmaster Fahim. Now, your chance is gone, Toastmaster Fahim. I will request the other audience to participate in the coming other tips as well. Now, my third tip to this situation, to another situation is, at times, you would be in a situation where you know somehow everything is going wrong. It's getting tough. It's really getting tough. What would you do? Now you have two options. Option number 1, switch off the camera, leave the meeting, and jump from the window. That's option number 1. Option number 2 is a smile. Okay. Which one would you choose? Now let me try to break it down for you. Let me tell you how our brain works. See, when you frown or when your facial impressions start to change because things are not going in your direction, your brain, what it does, it understands the fact that you are running in a difficult situation. So what it does, it causes your brain to send cortisol into your bloodstream. Yes. What does that do? That increases your stress level. So stress over stress over stress, guess what? It's a mess. Now, what can you do in return? You can't leave the meeting and jump.
I found a template. The only problem, and it already had a bit of Toastmaster colors. Only problem.
Please mute your audios. I would appreciate that, sir. Thank you very much. I'm also trying to find the template I have, but it doesn't matter. Now, a very, very important part is that you need to come out of the stress, because it's only going to worsen. It's only going to a level where it will going to get out of your control. So what do? The easiest thing you can do is learn to smile. When things are not in your direction, the best thing you can do is learn to smile. Because when you smile, it helps the people to feel less stress as well. Yes, because most of us mirror the actions of others. So if you smile, other people will smile too. That's what we do in meetings. And if you frown, some others will frown as well. So that will increase your stress level, and therefore it will be difficult to manage. So my tip number 3 is, when it's getting tough, smile. Tip number 4, don't gesture above your shoulders. There has been so many times when your hands raised above your shoulder, or your gestures would level up beyond your shoulders. Now, if we all know, when it comes to presentation, a stage appearance, performance, Steve Jobs is the guru. There has been books written about how Steve Jobs used to present himself on the stage and in front of the meetings. He was well referred as a presenter. He never raised his arms above his shoulders. Now, you may ask me and you say, why? What does it do? What happens when I raise my hands above the shoulders? To be honest with you, I don't know the answer. I don't know the answer. I'm just kidding you. The answer is that it gives, your body language sends out signals to your audience, and in the back of their mind, it may appear as if you are out of control or not credible enough. Now, none of us want to do that. So, asking the audience, what was tip number 3? Can someone please share their feedback other than Toastmaster Fahim? Tip number 3, guys.
Smile.
When would you smile? All the time?
When you are in a distress moment, you should smile.
Good. Very good. Thank you so much, DT and Sunila. What was my 4th tip? Does anyone remember?
Never raise your arms above shoulder.
Very good. And why is that?
Because it looks that you are out of control.
That's excellent. Thank you so much for the tip. I had no idea about that. Perfect. So that's with my 4 tips. Let's go on. I still have 320 tips more to go, so we still have time. That should be okay. Let me tell you my other tip, tip number 5. Talk more with your face, not only your hands. Yes, I have seen enormous times in Toastmasters, people delivering their speech while their entire body is moving except their facial impressions. Not only monotype, even their faces has no whatsoever explanations. Now, the first thing anyone gets, especially in a virtual world, in a physical world is a different ballgame, I'm not gonna get into it, but in a virtual world, the first thing that gets to the people is your face. So even if I'm sitting behind the camera, moving my hands, and my head is tilting right and left, your facial impression is the most important part, apart than your vocal variety. Now, vocal variety in general is only 38% of your communication domain, but the majority is your body language, and among that body language is your facial impression. The right gesture add immeasurably to your words. Use your face. Use your face. You have that face. You need to practice it. You need to record it. You need to deliver it. Even when ladies are covering their face, you can tell they're smiling, or they are upset, or they are sorrow. You can definitely tell that. So it's not about covering my face or not covering my face. Am I visual or not visual? Use your face for impressions. You'll feel more confident, think more clearly, naturally punctuate certain words and phrases on your face and hands, and fall into a much better rhythm. So that's my tip number 5. Tip number 6, use props to engage. Use props to engage. Now remember, when you are good with your speech and content and body language, that's excellent. But you need to engage. You need to engage with your audience. And this is where you will gonna be clever and think in novelty ways how to engage your audience. The more you engage with your audience, the more you are connected. If you are having a fear of time does not give you enough time to engage, or I may not be able to deliver the content, then you need to work on yourself. You need to practice before your meeting, your conference, your speech with the content, and visualize the time frame you will take to engage with your audience. Never, never with your audience ask open-ended questions. Never. Because the moment you ask open-ended questions, you will engage the audience into their feedbacks, general comments, viewing their thoughts, and the time will never going to be permitted to you. So engage them with close-ended questions, or engage them with physically. I'm going to leave that to you. How you're going to do that, I'm going to leave that to you. But do that, and you'll be more connected. Now, if you're speaking to a group, ask questions that involve raising hands. That is a part of the engagement. Not necessarily I have to ask a question. So guys, how many do you agree? How many of you agree that by now we have covered 6 points? Please raise your hand. You can do it. You can do that in a physical meeting as well, where you engage them in raising hands or talking to them. Pass on relevant items in a physical meeting. You know, can you please deliver this? Can you hand out this notepad? Or can you raise your colorful notepads on a certain point if you agree? Engage them in any way creative you can. Now, find a way that will help you to create a momentum, and you will get the attention beside your own physical delivery. So, point number 5, can someone remind me, other than DTM, Sunila, and Toastmaster Fahim, what was point number 5?
Expressions.
Expressions. Expressions with your hands?
No, facial
Talk more with
expressions.
face, not hands.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And number 6, anyone else? I want to hear some new people. Yes?
Props to engage.
Props to engage. Perfect. Thank you so much for being such a wonderful, attentive audience. Now, let me not conclude with point number 7. And this is very important, guys. Please listen to what I'm about to say. I'm going to conclude with this last point. For the love of God, for the love of God, think before you speak. Why am I saying this? Now, again, I'm a student of psychology. I'm a life coach, so I use a lot of psychometric and psychology patterns in analyzing different situations. So I always go back to the academic point of view. Why? Why is it important that I should think before I speak? Now, here's what happens. Our brains at times could function so fast that your mouth, your tongue, your vocal variety does not support it. All these thoughts that are in your brain drills down to a small mouth that is about to express, and it fails to express. So it trembles with the words, with the pronunciations, with the meanings, with the idea structure itself. So it's very, very important that we need to think before we speak. On the contrary, again, it could be a mess. How? If I'm taking too much pauses and thinking too much, just because I don't know what to say, also delivers a negative impression on your audience, because it tells you that you are not prepared enough. So next time when you are in a meeting in a physical meeting with your boss, with your colleagues, or you're even delivering a speech, the secret behind this is rehearsal. Rehearse as many times as possible with your thoughts, with your ideas. Write them in a script. I always tell this to myself and others. When I'm about to deliver a speech, a project of mine in Toastmaster, I don't just populate the idea. I write them on a piece of paper, practice them twice and thrice, and then mirror myself. How am I going to deliver? And then I try to then visualize audience sitting in front of me, and then I deliver a speech. Not that I'm saying I'm a world champion. I'm not. I'm far from being a world champion. But for some reason, people like when I come to a stage, and I'm grateful for the audience for liking me. And I guess somewhat around the line, that small steps of processes have to be credited. Eye contact is very, very important, guys. But then maintaining a visual with your audience is always not possible. What happens is that when we don't have the idea structured, our eyes intend to go to the top or to the bottom or to the right, to the left. That somewhat can be confusing. My tip is that before you start talking, take a moment, a second or two, to give that pause, to put your idea and thoughts together. If you put your thoughts 70% of what you are about to say, the other 30% is easy. If you overthink with your grammar and your vocabularies, you will never be able to speak. Keep it simple, keep it straightforward, have 70% of the keywords you want to deliver, and then just put them in the sentence, and it will flow smoothly. So, audience, point number one was, anyone? Anyone? Hello?
Pausing.
Yes, power posing. Number two.
Jack up energy.
Jack up energy.
Pause.
Perfect. Number three.
Smile when you are stressed.
Perfect. Number four.
Don't raise your hands above your shoulders.
Never raise your hands above your shoulders.
Perfect. Number
Jack
five.
up energy.
Let your face talk more.
Wonderful. Number six.
Never
Use
prop to engage.
Wonderful. And I want the last 7 points. I'm going to ask someone from the audience anonymously to answer what was point number 7. So are you ready, everyone? Your notes, your memory pattern, your, NPL kind of, technology, whatever it is. Are you ready? I'm going to ask this. Mr. President, Toastmaster Ahmed, what was point number 7?
Rehearsal.
Rehearsal. Excellent. Prepare, think before you speak. With that, thank you very much for giving me the chance and the opportunity to tell you what I have learned in the way I have managed myself to deliver a speech, attend a meeting, be a moderator, be a facilitator. And that was my short story. Thanks for listening to my 7 tips. And with that, I conclude my presentation. If there are any specific questions or any clarifications, feel free to ask. But please, please do not ask me complicated questions, for I don't have answers for that. Go ahead.
Thank you very much, Mr. Presenter. We have another 10 minutes for your question and answer session. Thank you.
Thank you, DTM Saida. I would love to come out of the session with no questions, but yes, if anyone has any questions.
I have one question.
Yes,
this
sir,
is Toastmaster Fahim. Now, you told never raise your hands above your shoulders. When I want to demonstrate something like big, far away, long, even that time, should I not put my hands above my shoulder?
That's a very good question. Now, what you are actually doing here is you are picturizing a scenario or a picture or an image in front of the audience. So the movement of the hands are in accordance to the picturizing of that image. That is acceptable. A rare, odd, and acceptable case. But It should not be a hyper, it should not be repeated, it should not be exaggerated in a sense where it may trigger negatively to the audience who are attending.
Right, thank
I
you.
hope that answers your question.
Clear, yes, sure, thank you.
Any other questions, ladies and gentlemen?
Assalamu alaikum. I do have a question. You mentioned that it's important to have the eye contact with the audience. Now, for example, with Zoom or whatever, this technology, some of people, they already close their camera and you cannot see them. In this case, how can you keep attracting the audience while you cannot see them?
Perfect. That's a very good question. Thank you so much, Toastmaster Muhammad. Allow me to answer that in 2 points. Point number 1 is the communication channel. Now, in any communication, there is a presenter or a sender, and there is a receiver. Now, for you to be accepted by others, it's very important that you do your homework as a sender. So you have a clear message, you have a visualization, you have a confidence in your face, and let the receiver interpret what the message is coming to them. So do not judge because the cameras are closed, they may not be looking at you. Do not have overconfidence that if they're not watching you, they may not be able to understand. You present yourself in the best possible way. Now, how can you handle or how can you manage in a platform like a virtual where all the cameras are open or majority of the cameras open, and you're actually speaking to yourself? What is the eye contact you can do? Here's the trick. Look at yourself. Look at yourself. When you look at yourself as if you're speaking, it may sound quite strange. It might be a bit difficult and confusing somewhat at the beginning, but with time you will practice. Look at yourself and as if you are watching, people are watching you. You will have that mindset with time, with practice, that as if people are watching you, you're not talking to yourself. You're just mirroring what your eyes is showing you. I hope that answers the question.
Thank you, Dr. Salim.
You're welcome. Any other questions? I provided a tip that if you are stressed out, switch off the camera and jump from the floor. I'm more than happy to ask if anyone wants to ask a question. From which floor should I jump? No? Okay, good. So we get the idea. So I think we have no further questions. With that, thank you very much for giving me an opportunity to be here among you. Thank you for being such a good listener, and over to you.